This past year, I got to travel across the whole country, driving, flying, all over the place, setting up content studios. Some of them were permanent studios for clients across the country. Some of them were pop-up studios at conferences and events. Also, people could make content. And after a while, all that work setting up and tearing down makes things a little tiresome. So we decided that it was time to get a space and build our own studio. All right, so we had to do what seemed impossible. We had to find a place that, first off, a small business like ours could afford. It could hold all of our production stuff, our growing team, and was a cool place for clients to film and accommodate the crazy workflow I've developed over the years. Maybe, I don't know, maybe like this one. So we found out our friends were building a new building for their business, and they would take the first floor, but they had some office spaces they'd lease out on the second floor, which was the perfect spot. It was 250 square feet. It was a reasonable price for a small business like mine. And most importantly, it was new. It had lots of great amenities, like a little kitchenette and good internet day one. And it's a great location right in the heart of town. All around winter. Except for the one obvious thing for production people, that's, it's on the second floor. But there's an elevator, so it's no problem, even if we have to move a lot of stuff. We just use a cart. That square footage was just enough to fit our desks, all of our gear, and the studio space I'd envisioned. Semi-comfortably, but just barely. Trust me, I had to redraw this thing like 200 times to get it workable to where everything fit and it didn't feel like we were crowding each other. So we basically followed the plan of that, schematic that I built and have different zones. So over here is sort of the working zone. We have our 2 desks where we're working every day, doing editing, client meetings, and calls. In between them is the gear shelf where all of our stuff lives. And so this is sort of like the set zone, right, where we have all of our cameras or lights. And then over here we have some additional gear, sort of a working surface that you can use, and some additional stuff that we take on set sometimes or just needs a place to live. This is a toolbox that I filled with grip stuff. We use it in here, we use it on set so it can roll out on wheels. And of course, every office needs a mini fridge. So this is sort of, again, just additional gear zone. And then we have the studio zone. And the studio zone is obviously more functional than just that. We have clients sit here for meetings. I take breaks here. We'll sit here and chat sometimes, just to have a different space to hang out in. And then of course, I don't know if you would call it a zone, but this big open space in the middle is actually a big part of what makes this whole office work. Because when we're loading gear on carts and just, preparing for a shoot, or we have a lot of people coming in here for a meeting, if we had, designed this any differently in terms of the layout, then we wouldn't have this open space. So loading a cart with gear would be a pain. Having multiple people in here would feel too cramped. And so really keeping this kind of buffer area was a really important part. And I think it's, thinking through all those different spaces, what is each corner, each area going to be used for, and how can we make sure it's comfortable and workable for that thing and doesn't, get in the way of other things. The main thing is that we have some adaptability built in, largely because of that buffer. Like we have all this space to where if we need to move one of these studio chairs out of frame for a solo shoot, we can. If we need to take some of this stuff, put it just outside the door and move a desk in for a commercial shoot, we can. So this whole thing, while being, basically filled out to the degree that it can, like I can't put anything else in this office, it still has enough wiggle room for us to move stuff and adapt the space for, one-off shoots or unique needs that come up throughout the year. Okay, so it's adaptable. We can do a lot of things in the space. It's beautiful, the set looks great, and people want to film there. But is it a huge pain in the ass to use for us and for clients? Are we setting up and tearing down, constantly moving light stands? Is dealing with all the footage a headache? We couldn't have that. We needed this space to be as easy as possible for clients and our team to use. So for that reason, we chose to set this up as close to a turnkey solution as possible. So one of the first things to really dial in was our lighting diagram. We wanted all of our lights locked in so we weren't constantly tearing down stands and moving them for every different setup that we needed. I wanted all the lights to be in the same place, and with just a slight change to the settings, we could have multiple content types filmed in the same set. And so right now, without even having to move a light stand, we can film a 2-person interview, or we can film solo content for YouTube or live streaming or whatever it is. And I can pretty much film my desk setup as well. Now the one snag here as far as the lighting goes is it took a lot longer and a little more gear than I would have liked to get it to where I wanted. Which we knew the format from setting up studios for clients and doing pop-up content studios across the country. You do a 2-person interview setup, and this person's key light is the second person's hair light. You have a little bit of fill light, some auxiliary light from tube lights. Instead, I ended up with 3 COB lights, 4 tube lights, and that's just for the main setup. And then I have an additional COB light off to the side for my desk setup. So aside from setting up a few cameras, there's basically no setup at all. I wanted the filming and editing to be just as easy. So we use a switcher for everything, and that means we're essentially live editing the entire show as we film it. And with the ATEM ISO model, we can make any tweaks we need to later. This keeps the whole thing wicked fast and makes it a lot more affordable for clients to do this consistently. Another desire I had was to be able to film pretty quickly from my desk. So what we have here is all the same lights that make up the studio setup in use for backlight, hair light, etc. I'm even using the fill light for fill for myself here. And then I set it up just one more COB just off the side of my desk as my key light. It took me a while to kind of find an angle I liked, and part of that was we had to move my desk a few times to find something that worked and still made use of this exact setup. But we finally got it, and it's great for recording content, and I can do that while my teammate is still working on editing, and take Zoom calls in the most overkill setup ever, which clients kind of laugh at and love. And speaking of that, something as simple as a teleprompter makes it really easy for us to have remote guests for podcast hosts, so they can use the set that we have and talk with their guests real time and actually make eye contact with them while they're talking. All of this makes it a really cohesive, seamless, easy, and beautiful studio setup for our clients to use, and it's a great workflow for us to film with. So essentially, this means we can crank out a large volume of high-quality content that looks beautiful for a way more reasonable rate than I'd have to charge setting this all up on site in an office, boardroom, or conference room. So that's basically it. That's our studio, office, workspace, home base. For now. Obviously, I'll be tweaking this and just making it better and better, and eventually we might outgrow this space, but for now, it's a really good solution for us, and our clients have loved it. If you like this video and had any questions about anything specific about my studio or the service that we offer, feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you want to see more content like this, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.